You've just left Cornhill at the heart of the old city and turned into Bull Court, EC3, walking now into a warren of shaded, shadowy alleyways that have not changed in over 100 years. Look around you, places that are cobwebbed by time, places that are so atmospheric, so little changed that many who have lived here are loath to leave and walk these places as ghosts of London. In fact, follow me down this alleyway here into St. Michael's Church, where I shall tell you the tale of the White Lady of the city. We're just leaving St. Michael's Alley, and it was here in a house at the heart of the old city in the 19th century there lived a tea merchant and his wife Elizabeth. One morning, this tea merchant went up to bed to wake his wife. Try as he might, he could not. So he sent for a doctor. The doctor could do nothing. So he instead sent for a funeral furnisher, an undertaker, and made arrangements he would have his wife buried here in the Church of St. Michael's at the heart of the old city. But before the burial, he went back to the church and he pleaded, "Can my wife please be buried in her wedding dress with her wedding ring upon her finger?" It was a reasonable request. This man was grief-stricken, so they allowed it. But the church warden had noticed the wedding ring, and that night, as midnight tolled its weary knell over these streets, he and his wife rose from their bed. They went out into the night. They walked back to this church here, St. Michael's. They let themselves in, and by flickering lantern's light, they went down into the crypt of St. Michael's. They opened up the tomb in which she lay, and they tried to take the ring from her finger. They pulled and they twisted, but it would not move. So being a man of resource, he took out his pocket knife and began to slice into the lady's flesh. It was then they discovered that she wasn't dead. She was suffering from what we know today as narcolepsy, that death-like trance which slows the heartbeat down so it's undetectable. And as the knife went into her flesh, suddenly her eyes opened wide. She let out a blood-curdling scream, and she sat upright in the coffin. Well, the church warden and his wife dropped the lantern, ran into the night, and they left this lady to come gradually to her senses. And when she did so, she walked out of the vault here in St. Michael's. She walked back to her home and banged on the door. The maidservant came down, opened the door, saw who it was, screamed out, slammed the door in the mistress's face, and went running to wake the master of the house, claiming his wife's ghost was at the door and she had come to claim their souls. He came down, he opened the door, found her cold, shocked and in pain, put her to bed, bandaged that finger, gave her a hot drink. She lived for another 35 years. She had 4 more children, and from that day on, wherever she went in London, she was always known as the ghost of the city. And when she died all those years later, and this time they were certain of it, they put her back into the tomb, and onto her tombstone they carved that nickname, the ghost of the city. But the story doesn't end there. For yet again, her husband had outlived her. And when he finally succumbed to the charms of the Grim Reaper, his family coveted such a valuable property in central London. They didn't waste any money on a funeral. They put him somewhere here in a pauper's grave. And there are those who have occasion to walk these streets late at night. There are those who find themselves working here to the early hours of some mornings. There are those who say that from time to time they see a dancing lantern's light as it wends its way through the narrow streets of the old city of shadows. And there are those who swear they sometimes see the White Lady as she glides gracefully through the churchyard, seeking the husband whom fate and greed have now separated her from for the whole of eternity to come. Dial 0845 979797 and I shall take you to another part of haunted London.